Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, where today, surprise, surprise, we're not going to be talking about Metroid, as much as I want to keep doing it, and trust me, I have plenty of upcoming Metroid videos and content for you guys. Instead, we're actually going to be focusing on The Legend of Zelda, and specifically Skyward Sword HD. I'm sure most of us are aware that this game officially launches in less than 1 week. It is this upcoming Friday, July 16th, that Zelda Skyward Sword HD finally releases on the Switch, and as many of you have probably already heard me say and gush about, it's actually my birthday. This game releases on my birthday this coming Friday, which is super cool because, you know, I am one of those really big fans of this game. And this game, of course, is divisive. It is controversial. Both the HD re-release, and if we're being honest, it was even divisive and controversial back when it released 10 years ago in 2011. I personally have loved it since it launched in 2011, and I've been defending it the entire past decade. And with this game finally coming to the Switch in HD this coming week, it is very exciting to me. The birthday thing is only part of it. Like, yes, it's neat that it's coming out on my birthday, but I mean, really, it's just the fact that I like the game, and I'm happy to see it coming. But because this game has been divisive for over a decade, and we're finally seeing it released with a couple of quality of life tweaks, yet still being divisive on the Switch, I wanted to discuss whether or not the Switch itself could sort of act as the saving grace for this game for many people. Before we dive any deeper into the Skyward Sword HD topic, I like to remind you guys I'm always trying to grow the channel here on Rule of Two Review. I upload several videos every single week, and I try to live stream around once a week when I have the time. I cover all things Nintendo, I cover all things Metroid, and I discuss all things gaming. So as you watch this video, if you seem to like what I'm doing and what you hear, then I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel. So the reason Skyward Sword has been a divisive game ever since its initial release a decade ago in 2011, most of us already know, and it's the fact that the game relied so heavily on motion controls, the fact that the game was pretty linear and structured as far as the overall narrative and where the game wants you to go at any one time, and of course, it's also the inclusion of the character Fi, who does talk to you way too often throughout that game and wastes a lot of your time telling you unimportant stuff about the percentage of success or what your battery life looks like, or all sorts of different things. And I'm someone who, honestly, I love Fi, mostly because I know the story, I know where the entire story goes, the ending is very emotional, very well told. I won't spoil anything, but Fi plays an integral role at the overall story of this game, and I like how she plays a role in the story and in the conclusion. I think it's very cool and very powerful. So I like the character, but I obviously do still agree with the fact that she's way too annoying and she bugs you too often throughout that game. And so the motion controls and the Fi thing and the linearity of the game design is something that people haven't liked since it released in 2011. I personally have seen through those faults to the many other strengths that this game has, and I think that releasing this game on the Switch is going to be hugely helpful for helping people realize why it's a great game. Unfortunately, the game was off to a rocky start from the get-go. Not only was it releasing on the standard definition Wii, when the Wii, despite its massive initial popularity, was already starting to wane, and the world had become really fixated on HD graphics and HD consoles with the 360 and the PS3, and where PC gaming was going at the time, but it also very famously had an E3 stage demo performed by Miyamoto and Bill Trinen that did not go well. So the main new feature and focus of this game, which was the motion controls and the Wii Remote and the Wii Motion Plus, wasn't really shown off very well to the world when they were on stage trying to show you how cool the motion controls were. It was, unfortunately, a big disaster, and I might also add, it was not an accurate representation of how the game played, because yeah, the motion controls were maybe a lot, but they did work. They worked really, really well. So something very strange happened during that presentation. After the fact, they talked about, you know, maybe wireless or Wi-Fi signals and cell phones and laptops were throwing off the IR sensor, and I mean, who knows if that was even true or not. All I can say is, as someone who's played the game several times on the Wii, the game works way better than that stage demonstration. However, The standard definition Wii and the wonky stage presentation really hurt this game's initial first impression to the world. Now on the Switch, I think that this game has a real shot at success. I mean, we already know the game is going to sell well simply because it's a Zelda game, releasing on the Switch, where everything that's first party sells like crazy. I bring that up to you guys often on my videos. And so we know the game is going to be a sales hit, but will it be a hit with the fans and the people who either have never played it or the people who played it back in the day but hated it? Are they going to see that this is an improved, worthy version of this game? And I've also mentioned this in the past to you guys, how Skyward Sword, I think, is the game that has always deserved a second chance. It's been the one game until now that had only been trapped on its original console because of the motion controls. All of the other 3D games, Ocarina, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker, have all had chances at re-releases and HD upgrades and improvements to the overall performances of the games. Skyward Sword was seen as the game that was stuck on the Wii forever because of the motion controls. But now, we're seeing them bring it to the Switch where the Joy-Cons can emulate the motion controls, and they've created a way to play with an analog stick so that you don't even need the motion controls. This is going to be hugely helpful for this game. I will say that I plan on playing this game with the Joy-Cons, using the motion controls, because that's how I know this game. I loved it that way on the Wii, and I'm excited to see how it feels with the Joy-Cons, which are technically more improved tech than what the Wii Motion Plus could do, obviously, 10 years ago. I also am curious to try the analog controls. I will say one curious thing, and maybe somehow I've missed this, but I've yet to see any footage or screenshots of anyone playing this game with a Pro controller. All we see are the Joy-Con motion controls or people using the analog control holding a Switch Lite. I can't imagine that a Pro controller won't work for this game, but if for some reason that's the case, I am a little bit nervous. Not for myself, because I'll enjoy it with the motion controls, but I'm nervous that somehow Nintendo might have made a boneheaded mistake here and not allowed for the standard controls to work with a Pro controller. And, I mean, like I said, I don't think that's going to be the case, but if they did, I think people are going to complain, and rightfully so. So hopefully it's just you can either use Joy-Cons or you can use a Pro controller or a Switch Lite, and you can be fine, and I think that people are going to find this to be a really cool experience from that standpoint. Now, there are other quality of life improvements that they have actually confirmed for the game. One of them is also divisive, and we'll get into that in a minute, but if you look at the other things that they list on the official site for this game, here's what they say. They, of course, talk about the enhanced performance. So we know that obviously the game is in HD. I think it looks very good. Would I have liked more of a graphical upgrade? Yes, especially for full price. But the game still looks beautiful. I liked it in standard definition. I think it's going to look great in HD. And of course, it's going to obviously perform smoother and faster and in 60 frames per second. They talk about the improved motion controls and the Joy-Con controllers, the button controls that allow you to choose your play style, which I think, again, will probably include the Pro controller. Here is the more interesting part. They say various quality of life enhancements, including refinements to player tutorials and general guidance throughout the adventure. So what that says to me is unquestionably about Fee. And maybe some of the other tutorial stuff and the whole, you know, they've also confirmed this when you pick up items, it's not going to tell you what it is every time you pick it up. So that is going to be huge, the tutorial aspect, and also Fee constantly bugging you throughout the adventure when you don't want her to. You can choose to talk to her and ask her questions at any time, and that's great. But she doesn't need to bug you every 13 seconds about the percentage of your chance of success of crossing a bridge. Like, that stuff, as much as I love the character narratively, it does not help the experience. It does not make it feel more fun. And they're telling us that, hey, we've fixed that part. We've addressed that concern. And so it's going to be better from that perspective. And personally, I think that's great. Now, of course, we have to address the other last elephant in the room when it comes to this, and that is the Amiibo. And I already made a video discussing that when that was first announced, but to kind of dive a little bit deeper into it here to wrap up this video, that's something that I do have mixed feelings on. Because the Amiibo looks great. I mean, Skyward Sword has my favorite iteration of the Zelda character that has ever existed, and I don't think they'll ever make a better version of Zelda, in my opinion. I would be shocked if they could top it. She is great in this game. And so, as far as the Amiibo itself, I think it's cool. It's my favorite version of Zelda. with a loft wing from one of my favorite Zelda games. Like, I think it's great. However, it's also $25 instead of $13, so it's twice the price because it's Zelda and a loft wing. And then, of course, the functionality basically is a more improved version of fast travel for this game. And so that's been a big hot button topic, and I discussed it. I don't love that this is the choice, and it's convinced me not to buy the Amiibo. However, I also think Nintendo is in a tough spot with Amiibo because I will admit that a functionality like this is kind of what's perfect to include in an Amiibo. It's not essential to play the game, it's just a nice, small, tiny perk that comes along with the ability to scan this toy into the game. And so it's like, maybe this should have been included in the $60 price. I actually think it should have. But also, it's the perfect feature for an Amiibo. But then again, the Amiibo's $25 and not $13. So the whole thing just gets really messy with the Amiibo thing. And so while I'm excited to buy and play the game, I did personally decide not to buy the Amiibo because I don't think they made the best choice. However, it's not so bad that it's ruining my day because while it would be a nice feature to have, I will tell you guys, and especially to the newcomers here, it's really not that big of a deal to travel to and from the sky and to find those statues that allow you to do that throughout the game. Like, maybe there could be more statues in the game, sure, but they are present. You can find them fairly easily. You're not going to be jumping to and from the sky every 10 minutes. Like, it's not something you need to do so often, even for the upgrades that they talk about, that you need this functionality. Trust me, without the Amiibo and that ability, you're still going to be able to go to and from Hyrule in the sky just fine at the statues. It's going to be okay. And so overall, I think just the general improvements they're making to the game, even without the Amiibo and the fast travel function, is going to be really solid. And I think between the strong sales we know this game is going to see, and the fact that these improvements to the performance, to the graphics, to the the narrative part, is actually really going to help most people, and the controls as well, of course. I think it's going to help most people find this to be a really great, excellent Zelda game. And of course, it has to be noted that this game is going to have direct ties to Breath of the Wild 2. They've already confirmed that, both with what Aonuma said during that Nintendo Direct, as well as what we saw from the newest trailer from Breath of the Wild 2 at E3. This game is going to be really important for people to play, at least I'm assuming, before they play Breath of the Wild 2, and so it's very smart of them to release it, to finally bring it to this console. And at this point, being a 10-year-old game, it pains me to say this, but that means that there's a lot of gamers out there young enough who've never played this game, and this is going to be their first chance to experience it. So it's going to help in so many different ways to put this on the Switch, and to have it also be adding something to the Breath of the Wild 2 experience when the hype for that game is so high, that I would say, yeah, I think the Switch is going to overall save Skyward Sword in the minds of a lot of gamers and help people realize why this is such a great and strong Zelda game. In my opinion, it's the best story they've ever told in a Zelda game, and it's a shame so many people haven't experienced it. So this is going to be the way. And yes, I think the Switch console and its popularity are going to save this game. So these are just my thoughts and theories about what's going on. You know, I'm a little bit biased because I'm somebody who's always loved this game, and there are plenty of people who don't. And so you're going to get different thoughts and opinions from different people with different perspectives. And I think that's great. I encourage you to listen to everyone talk about it with their own thoughts. I'm a fan, so I'm already more likely to be excited about what's going on. And again, it releases on my birthday. I mean, could that be any cooler? Like, again, that only helps me. It doesn't help you guys. But I'm not going to lie about how I feel about it. Like, I'm excited about it. I love the game. It releases on my birthday. Of course, I'm totally cool with all of this stuff. So this is what I think. What do you guys think about the quality of life stuff? The ability for the Switch to maybe save this game in the minds of gamers and people's perspective of it? Or do you think it's not going to make a difference and people are still going to be down on it? I mean, whatever your thoughts, share them below. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.